All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Blueprint on How to Turn Goals into Achievement podcast for entrepreneurs. I am your coach and speaker and host, Andres Ruiz. And today we have a guest that I'm extremely excited about. I've known her for a couple of years, maybe a little over 2 years, and just an amazing woman that I just saw so much energy and so much power with just her presence alone. But then when she would speak about her experiences, I just really fell in love with just the way that she is and the just all the amazing insights that she brought into my life. But the person I'm speaking about is Deborah Workman. She is a global NLP trainer, a life and leadership coach, and a wife and a mother, and a highly sought out after speaker. And yeah, she's definitely a great speaker, speaks from the heart. That's what I love about her. And she helps high achievers reconnect to themselves, which is awesome, their purpose and their relationships so that they can refine their ability to achieve extraordinary results and redesign their life. Deborah is the founder of Illuminating Lives, lives in Tauranga, New Zealand. I hope I said that right, but welcome to the show, Deb. How are you feeling today?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Andreas. I'm excited. I'm excited to be here with you and connect and have this conversation.
Absolutely, me too. And I always like to get the interview started by having the guest brag about themselves because I think it's really important that we talk about ourselves and the qualities that we have about ourselves. So the question I want to ask you, Deb, what would you say is your superpower?
Great question. What would be my superpower? What's coming to me in the moment is the common results and feedback I get from the people I work with is that they've expanded their minds.
Hmm.
They've all of a sudden had this ability to see their lives differently, see people
Mm,
differently, see themselves more deeply,
yes.
and trust more in their inner guidance, their intuition and creativity. And there's no limit to that.
Yeah.
I kind of cheated and gave a lot in there, and that's pretty much the going feedback I get.
Yeah, no, and I believe that, and I think it's really important that we are bringing that out of people. That's what I think that your superpower is, that you bring something out of people that maybe they had been missing for God forever, So I really feel you have that superpower, and I really see that in you because you yourself have done that work. But before like you started doing all this work, tell us a little bit about like your background, what did you do before you started doing coaching? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, gosh, I was very much what I like to call in the human doing of life, pretty much human fleeing through all the things. I was a mother, I am a mother, but I was a mother back then. I was a wife. I had the house, I had the corporate job, I had the money in the bank account. I had what everyone would deem a pretty successful life if we were looking at the outside. The problem that I didn't realize at the time is that I was lacking in true fulfillment. It was
Mm,
like there was something missing in my life, and I was convinced that if I got the promotion, that would complete me. Or if I got the abs, or my husband got the abs, then I would feel better about life. Then I'd actually feel good about who I was at that time. And so there was a lot of chasing. There was a lot of this illusion of destination happiness that I had to get to in a hurry. And it was a very sped up way of life. Definitely wasn't present. I was very disconnected from the people who matter most, my family, my children, my husband, my animals. And I had no clue that life didn't need to be lived in this capacity, that there was more to it. And so I really had to get to what I thought was my bottom, my rock bottom, which was a loveless marriage, children who preferred to hang out with their dad because their mum was just too busy and too stressful and too overwhelmed and too anxious and all the things. And I had to experience that reality to know that I wanted differently, that I actually wanted to be in my life, not working on it 24/7. So
wow.
that's where I was. And it was, yeah, very at the time I thought I was doing everything right, but that was the problem. I was doing everything right, but I wasn't being in my life. I
Yeah.
wasn't actually feeling. We know at school we're not taught how to feel. We're taught to think and then think some more and then think about what we've done wrong. But I wasn't really taught about the human development and human condition and how beliefs can run our lives without even knowing.
Wow. Yeah. And that's I feel like you pretty much just described a lot of people, and including myself, when I was working at a job that I was just I had it all. I thought I had it all, and people would tell me you should be grateful, but something was missing, and I see that, that was something that was missing for yourself, and I'm glad that you were able to finally start to look within and starting to search for something different. Like, tell us about that experience, about when you started to search, and what was that point where you were just like, you know what, something's got to change.
Yeah. I was living in a big city of New Zealand, Auckland at the time, and everything was a journey. Like to travel to work, there was a big destination and a big travel time in my car, and life was just feeling really hard. And I was feeling really robotically stuck in Groundhog Day every day. And I happened to be speaking to a friend who spoke also to my sister at the time about meditation. And this was probably 10 years ago when meditation wasn't so common as it is now.
Mhm.
And she talked about learning transcendental meditation and how she can't explain it, but she has more peace in her life.
Mm.
And I looked around in my brain and I remember that day very vividly. And I was like, peace? What the heck is peace? I've got my to-do list going 24/7, even when I'm sleeping. So tell me more about this piece. So I got really curious about what that is and what that could be like. And so I enrolled and learned transcendental meditation, which simply is to meditate twice a day for approximately 20 minutes and just allow your mind to settle and allow all those thoughts to be there. And then the more deeply you accept what's going on in the moment and the more you just acknowledge your mantra and your breathing, you drop into this place of what I call just calm, bliss, peacefulness, where you actually re-energize your body. Like I had no clue meditation had spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical benefits until I actually started doing it. And so I didn't notice my shifts from becoming a loyal meditator. However, other people did. And
Mm.
all of a sudden, I felt that my work colleagues were treating me nicer. And I couldn't understand that perhaps I was being nicer. Perhaps I was more present and calmer and less demanding, less controlling, less running on perfectionism, less trying to please everyone except myself. And
Mm.
when I noticed that people around me were changing, I thought, whoa, I want to know more because now I've got this meditation under my belt and I'm feeling a little bit better about myself. But what else is possible when I start deeply connecting more into what's going on under the hood, what's going on in my inside?
Mm.
So then I learned, and you're familiar of it, I started to invest in my own leadership and my own inner work. And that was a bit of a conflict for me because I thought paying to work on myself was a luxury. I thought, there's bills to pay, there's a mortgage to pay off, there's children's educations to fund. Who am I to put all this money on myself with no guarantees of what door I'm going to walk out of afterwards? Something in me, and I'll call it now my innate knowing, my wisdom, my intuition went, do it anyway. Do it anyway. Do it scared, do it anyway. And so I did, and I invested significantly in a leadership coaching program that allowed me to peel back the layers of misunderstandings that I had created in my life up until this point through what I'd call significant events that happened to me from birth right through to my 40s, which I'm in now and enjoying. And I didn't realize that those events, even though they were in the past, were still with me in the present.
Wow.
Not consciously, but unconsciously, they were getting activated anytime I sensed fear or anger or embarrassment or shame. And I had no clue that I had my past basically sitting on my shoulder throughout
Mm.
every move I was making in the present, which was leading me to be this overreactive human. Like my
Mm.
poor daughter would spill water on the floor and it's a tiled floor, so 5 second cleanup. And I would lose my stuff at her like she'd spilt red wine on white carpet.
Mm.
So that overreactive of emotional discharge was evidence to me that there was more going on and it wasn't just about what was happening on the outside. And so, lo and behold, 10 years didn't take 10 years, but I've just been discovering more and more about myself and
Mm.
learning to love and accept all those unique parts of my journey and embracing that who I am today is because of who I've been. I
Ooh.
used to think who I am today would be better if I didn't have the journey I had, if I didn't have the past I had, if I didn't have all those insecure thoughts around being not good enough, being obviously a failure at times, or feeling like a fraud. Because if you can't tell already, like you, Andreas, I'm bicultural, and I kind of had two identities growing up. Am I New Zealand Māori enough to fit in that world, or am I white enough to fit in the other world? Because I've got
Mm.
parents from two different races.
Wow.
So I, had an interesting, I guess, mindset back then of needing to prove myself to everyone when really I just needed to prove myself to myself and
Ooh.
accept who I was being.
Man, you just dropped so many gems right there, and that one, wow, that was so good and very powerful. Just like all the things that you said, and I also want to acknowledge you for your vulnerability of sharing some of your challenges that you face, and how, like what I really love about you is just your willingness to share how you had some struggles, even as a mother, as just like just a human being, and like you were saying that all of these things were just unconscious things that were happening that you were just unaware of, but because you chose to invest in yourself and find that coaching, find somebody that could help you to not completely eliminate all these beliefs and all this unconscious thinking, but to help you be aware of it, which I think is the first step. And then now it's like, people are treating me nice. What's going on here? And it was just because of your transformation, the world around you started to transform, and you weren't trying to be this perfectionist anymore, or all these
Mm.
things that you had pretty much labeled yourself with, of like, I'm perfect, I have to be perfect, all these things. But there's a lot of people that deal with one thing that you did mention, which was the not enough piece, where people are saying to themselves, like, who am I to do that? Like, and I think we both have dealt with this. I've dealt
Mhm.
with this, where even to this day, sometimes I'm like, who am I to do this? So for the people out there that deal with that feeling not enough, like, could you give us like maybe one or two tips on how to overcome this feeling of I'm not good enough?
Yeah, yeah. Gosh, one tip, I'll do my best. For me, one of the most simple and profound ways that I've been able to truly be with myself, let alone accept myself, was to create space, time to be with me. And how I do this, and this could be different for everyone, is to not overbook my calendar, not go from meeting to meeting to meeting, to create spaciousness between my connections, between my meetings, between my clients, between my trainings, and time in the morning to really set me up for the day. The
Okay.
most creative, the most successful, the most inspiring people I know create space for themselves before they even talk to another human being. And that has just been really life changing for me. First of all, people go, but what about my sleep? I need my sleep. Your best sleep happens between 10 p.m. at night and sort of 4 a.m. After 4 a.m., it's not good sleep. It's light, it's erratic, it's active. So you're not really punishing yourself by getting up earlier because your best sleep's in the earlier hours of the night. So what I've noticed is, and I'll give you an example of this morning, is I got up at 5 a.m., my usual time. I meditate. I just sit and think about what my day is and then notice how I want the outcome to go and how I want to feel. So I'm already setting my mind into motion of what it could create today and how good it would feel to create that. Because a lot of us roll out of bed, me including in the past,
Mm.
going, oh God, another day. Oh, I'm probably going to get this complaint. I'm probably going to deal with her today. We all know that her or that him. I'm going to be in traffic. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to have 101 emails. And then we can congratulate ourselves because we create that reality. And we have no clue we were the instigator of all of that. So I'm
Mm.
very mindful of what I want to create today, and am I focusing on what I desire rather than focusing on what I don't want? because it's easy to focus on what we don't want. Gosh, I had a life apprenticeship in doing that old way. So that time in the morning to just be with yourself, however you choose. Some people like journaling, some people like drinking a coffee and just being in quiet.
Yes.
Ideally, no technology because we don't want to activate our mind into that busy stimulation. What I've found by 6 a.m., when my two teenagers start crawling out of bed and kind of grumbling their way to the kitchen looking for food, they find mum who's been with herself for a whole hour. She's dancing with no music on. She's loving on them. She's happy. She's joyful. And although they're rolling their eyes at me, I catch a little smile coming out the side of their
Yeah.
face. So I don't focus on the eyeball roll. I focus on they're still smiling. They're still going, my mum is crazy and I love her. Perhaps that's the reality I want to believe anyway. And I just know that that ripples out to benefit them throughout the day. And I know it benefits my husband to see his wife creating her own happiness from just accessing her own well-being and innate wisdom within. She's not needing anything outside of herself to feel better. She's just got that wellness within. And that's something that doesn't cost anything other than your agreement to yourself that you're worth it, that you have that value within you to commit to yourself in the morning and set yourself up for the day.
Ooh, that's really good. Your agreement with yourself. And then, like you said, just putting it all on you, taking full ownership of your happiness. I love that. That is so good. And I mean, what you just explained really is a key to just feeling good enough because it's coming from within. So I love what you just shared right now. And I hope that, the audience listening, rewinds that after the replay, but because it was really good information. So thank you for sharing that first. And then I just want to ask you, when you started doing all this work on yourself, things were happening. It was just, I know it was just an amazing experience for you, but when you made that transition from going from corporate to leadership, like when did you decide to coaching? Like when did you decide to do that? And how was that experience for you? Tell us about that.
Yeah, gosh, I would be the opposite. I would say I had some characteristics back then of being the opposite to a risk taker. So I did not take that leap of faith with closing my doors to the corporate world and the next day opening up my coaching business. I didn't have that much, I guess, bravery or courage back then to do such a leap of faith. So what I chose to do is I was aware that something in coaching would activate this feeling within me where I could do it all day long and it not feel like work. So I thought this must be like what happens when you're walking the path of your purpose, when you're touching what perhaps your calling is that you signed up to in this lifetime without even realizing. So I knew that coaching was energizing me. I knew that helping people see themselves differently rippled out for them to see the world differently and experience what I was starting to experience. So the motivation was there. I knew this is something that I wanted to do. And what I started to do was coach after my corporate job or reduce my daily work and my corporate career so I could build up the coaching business. So I got to a point where I had a full-time coaching client database waiting for me, and it was just this easy, graceful transition across. And I'm not saying that's the only way to do it or that's the best way to do it. That was my way to do it as I deepened my trust and my faith in myself and let go of a lot of fears of how will we eat? What if I've got no clients? What if I fail at this? What if what if I'm terrible at this? What if I've got it all wrong? Like I had all of those insecure thoughts. And I also had a coach in my corner that would remind me of my potential and shine that light back on me and go, you love what you do. You have clients that love what you do.
Yeah.
You need to keep trusting and believing and having that faith in yourself and that certainty that even if you don't have the results yet, believe that they're possible and then you'll see it.
Yes.
Because the problem with a lot of my clients that come to me initially is they're waiting to see something before they believe it.
Mm.
And all of the gurus I follow, Abraham Hicks, for example, was saying it's backwards. We actually have to believe what's possible in order to see it because we're creating it with that belief alone.
Yes.
We've created a lot in our life by default, by believing we haven't been good enough, by believing we're not lovable, by believing we aren't wanted. So, what would happen when we actually change gears and hop into the driver's seat of our life rather than sitting in the back seat waiting for life to happen to us?
Wow.
And for me, I like sharing the metaphor is when we don't release our past, when we don't shine the awareness on it to realize, wow, I've got some choices to make here. I can really truly let go of the emotional hold I have on this experience that happened to me when I was 5 years old, can
Mm,
still have the memory, but no emotional charge to it.
mm,
What happens is we no longer hop into the car of our life and look in the rear vision mirror of our past and have that be our guidance. We get to look straight ahead and focus in on what we truly want, what we truly desire, what we wish for to create. And
mm,
it's like I call it, it's like an emptying of the load we're carrying on our shoulders without even realizing.
mm,
Without even realizing. Like I could talk for hours on different examples of that, but one I want to share, and I feel like it'll be beneficial, is when I talk about I had the ability to expand my mind and expand my perception of my reality, and that's where I can share it with clients and help them on their own healing journey. One example would be only this morning, my husband was sitting, I don't even know where he was. He was sitting in the bedroom and he said, oh, look, there's an opportunity for me to go on a boys' golf trip in November. He said, the thing is, it happens over our anniversary, so I'd leave on the Thursday and come back the following week. I reflected in that moment really quickly. 5, even probably 6 years ago, my response would have been, how dare you? Who do you think you are, not wanting to hang out with me on our anniversary? I can't believe you're even asking me. Clearly you don't love me. Like I would
mm,
go to that extreme of reality and being this overreactive, insecure, perhaps even jealous wife. And it wasn't what he said that created it. It was what my stinking thinking in that moment was making it mean.
wow. Yeah.
And so when this morning when he said it, I was able to catch myself and go, man, I know in the past where I would have made this mean a whole lot of negative, painful stuff about myself, when
Hmm.
really I was able to be present with what he was saying and go, you know what? I'm away a lot in October where he's going to hold the fort of our home life. And him to go away in November with his boys and have his time, good for him. So I
Mm,
said, you know what? If you need help with booking the flights, let me know. I'm a bit of a guru with that sort of stuff.
mm,
And we can celebrate our anniversary anytime. Like every day I wake up and I love on you. So what's a date to me? It's really not that important. And I just thought, wow, I'm so glad I have, I guess, that security in myself to be with life and look at how is it working for me instead of how is it sabotaging me? How is it working not for me? How is this creating my own upset? And that shift doesn't mean I have a Pollyanna lens. Perhaps some people might think I do, and that doesn't matter anymore to me. I care about what people think, but I don't carry what they think. It's very uniquely, but it's just for me. It means that every day for me, life is beautiful. I'm
Yeah.
not having to do anything. In fact, I'm doing less. And I
Mm,
can't explain it other than I'm more deeply connected to who I am at the core than I've ever been. And that place is magical.
wow. Yeah, that's so good. And I love what you said about how I feel like you were saying you're proud, but you said I'm so glad that I'm able to see this and recognize it. And so I feel like you were saying, like, you're proud of yourself for being able to recognize this and not staying stuck or starting to think jealous thoughts, which I know people think that happens. That's a real thing. And people deal with that and struggle with that. So, thank you for sharing all that great knowledge of yours that I'm sure a lot of people could benefit from, because if you can help people with their relationships, which I know you're great at, like everything changes, not just in your personal life, but in your professional life. You have more peace, you have more
Hmm.
happiness. So, for the people that are watching, if you need somebody to help you with your relationships, Deb is the go-to right here for sure. I mean, besides like leadership and all that, she does a lot, but definitely she can help you with the relationships. I even remember watching you on that show about relationships. So, just you definitely have that down because you've worked on you. So, thank you for sharing those gems with us. And just like for yourself, I want to ask you, what is coming up next for you? Like what are you looking to create in the future? And how can people like get involved to work with you? Maybe it's just like your coaching or your NLP trainings or anything like that. Please tell us about like what you have coming up, and let the audience know what they can get from you if they would like to work with you, and give us your information, please.
Yeah, gosh, there's a lot coming up, and a lot of it is me still stretching and evolving and growing myself. I like to treat life that I like to tell myself, and I treat life like we're climbing a mountain with no top. So
Mm.
there's always more for me to
Yeah.
open my mind to, expand, grow, develop into. And it's not so exhausting anymore to think that. It's almost fascinating. And so what's coming up for me, just briefly, is I have my next human conditioning mindset belief theory training, which is happening in July. So 3 months from today. I only run that training twice a year. So this is our second one in July and our last one for this year. And I train with someone else and we give our all to those trainings, hence why they don't happen that often. We like to fill our cups. So we serve and we coach and we teach from the overflow to others. And so that's a training if people are interested in, oh, tell me more about that, expanding my mind and living more into that inner peace, that inner safety and that inner fulfillment.
Hmm.
There's ongoing coaching, like I like to work with clients for a minimum of 3 months, and purely because a lot of it's breaking through our past before we even start laying the foundation of what you want to create and take into your future. If we don't deal with anything that we've got hang-ups on, we're kind of creating our future on shaky ground. And I've done that in the past. It hasn't worked for me. I like to be more in a stable place to go, you know what, I'm good to go now. I'm clear. Let's go. So coaching, that can happen on an ongoing basis. I work with a small amount of people in that space now. And then the other thing, of course, I speak and I'm looking at creating more of how I can share what I know personally, professionally, and from my own experience with others, whether it'll be a podcast, whether it'll be Facebook Lives, whether it'll be sharing the wisdom I've learned from my four-legged guru called my dog Tui. He's taught me a lot about being present, coming from unconditional love, spewing your joy all over people, no matter what,
Yeah.
and letting go of perfection and resting and having fun. So there's a lot. I do have a website, which is purely my name, deborahworkman.com. However, I'm way more fun to talk to than my website. So if you would like to have a conversation, if you'd like to just hear more and share perhaps what touched you, if anything, on this podcast, then reach out to me. It costs you absolutely nothing to have a complimentary conversation with myself. I love to serve, I love to share. And if that's the only conversation we have, I will be touched and blessed to be in the company of another human and talk about what I love and what I hope to help others with and help this planet keep evolving in consciousness and humanity so I can then perhaps see my vision in life, which is of an illuminated planet where everyone has their light on, whatever that will be. And I'm just going to leave you with a metaphor on that. It happened to me only this week where my husband and I were walking around a forest, which we do every morning in our morning routine with our dog. And I noticed due to weather, Mother Nature, so to speak, all the big, big, big trees had fallen over and they'd fallen into the water, they'd fallen onto the path. It looked initially, first thought, like carnage and destruction.
Yeah.
And I said to my husband, wow, this is really sad. All these big trees that were creating shade and the sacred sanctuary of the forest have tumbled over. And in that moment, he said something really profound and it stayed with me. And he said, you know what? Those big trees, they needed to fall over so the little new shoots sprouting up could get the light and grow bigger and shine bigger and be bigger in the forest.
Good
And
stuff.
I went, we're like that. We humans are like that. So
Yeah.
it's all about
Ooh, that's so
growing and
good.
evolving, inspiring our future generations to come. And if we don't have our light on, how can they have their light on? So I'm all about bringing that inner power out in people and coming from that space of creativity and intuition and embracing what we're feeling and to trust what lights us up and do more of that. So
Love
that's
it.
what I everyone with.
Good stuff. Yeah, and that's a great way to close it out. Thank you so much, Dev, for being here. And like she said, you guys can reach out to her. You can check her out on Facebook. She's on this live right now. So Deborah Workman, she is an amazing speaker, coach, and just an amazing woman overall. Like, she's just, honestly, she'll transform your life, your relationships, your leadership skills. Reach out to her. She also, like I said, does public speaking. So if you need a speaker, please reach out to her as well. She can do some public speaking on Zoom or in person, whichever one you prefer. But this has been great. Thank you so much, Deb, again, for being here. And thank you, everybody, for watching the Blueprint on How to Turn Goals into Achievement podcast for entrepreneurs. We will be seeing you on the next one. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, Andreas.
Thank you.